Welcome to the Between Two Wheels podcast. This is Tyler Janke coming to you on a Friday afternoon, to discuss the Tour of California and the Giro d'Italia, kind of give you an update on what's happened so far. Big events that went down today in the Tour of California. Actually, going back a few days too. We'll get into some of that. Between Two Wheels was there for the press conference, stages 1 and 2 only. They're in heart and in spirit for the rest of them. But, hey, we've got other jobs to do. But I do think we gave you some good interviews. We did touch on some people that have been part of the active scene with the tour this year. Some of them, and not all of them. And maybe give you a little... I'll add in a few items that we didn't really get to discuss in full. Hey, one thing, I did make a mistake with the recording unit at the press conference, switching it from, without going into too much detail, the digital recorder that records right off of the recorder itself, and then switching it back to the mic setting for Chris and I in the car. And, anyway, it didn't come across all that great, and I tried to edit it as best I can. But no mistakes, no excuses, and we'll go on there. Let's start with today's stage. Stage 6, the Amgen Tour of California. I'm going to start with the women's race, and pretty disappointing to not have really any coverage of it this year. I don't know if it was that bad last year. We did get to, it's part of ASO, and I hear they're cutting out some women's I don't know if it's Liège or some of these other races. There's some issues with they're not broadcasting or they're not doing it. And ASO doesn't really seem to be a big big proponent of women's cycling, perhaps. And look, there may be a budgetary issue with that. And you can't just be, if you're going to survive as a business, you're not going to just float it out there because people want it. I mean, if they want it, you're going to have advertising. And if that's not working, maybe the demand is more. Maybe the demand is there what they think. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or they're just not deciding to do it. Either way, I really would have enjoyed seeing the women's race this year going up Baldy, because that's it's just fun to see anyway. And the fact that the race was in Southern California this year, we did not get to interview any of the women. Last year we talked to Katie Hall, Taylor Wiles, Kendall Ryan. Did see Kendall Ryan at the press conference. And she really didn't get a chance because they had a little punch up on stage 1. So Anna van der Breggen ends up actually getting the win there yesterday with a really windy day. And then today she follows that up with a strong effort. Katie Hall, her teammate, Boels Domen, gets up to her. And those two, it looks like Katie, from what I could tell in the highlights, pretty much let her in. And then Anna van der Breggen kind of gave Katie the win and gets the GC win herself. So Katie Hall with a win there, 2 hours, 36 minutes, 39 seconds, and right on her wheels at the same time as Anna van der Breggen of Netherlands, Boels Domen team, and then Ashley Molman Passio for the CCC Live team of the Netherlands, 33 seconds behind them. Looks like they got some jersey awards today. Anna van der Breggen, I'm going to share the screen over here because I'm doing this, and if you want to check out our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see some of this as it is. So we have the results here show that the women's jersey wearer, Amgen race leader as Anna van der Breggen, as we know, the breakaway from cancer most courageous was Elmira Shapira. She was off in a break leading into the Baldy climb, so that's kind of the reason she gets that. The Queen of the Mountains, Katie Hall, I believe this will be her, if she holds on to that tomorrow, this will be her third time winning the King of the Mountains, of the Mountains jersey for her Boels Domen team. Third time for her. And the sprint jersey goes to Anna van der Breggen. And then the Tag Heuer Best Young Riders jersey, Juliette Laboris of France, Team Sunweb. So those are your results for the women's race at the Tour of California today up Baldy. All right, so like I said, there's a little bit of controversy there going on with the women and not getting the coverage. I think you could probably throw some cameras up there, especially if you just wanted to show Baldy at least. Show us that, and we would have been fine with it. But as it was a little disappointing, and all you get is a bunch of people upset. Okay. Tour of California, men's stage 6. Maybe we should first talk about stage 4 and the TJ issue. First of all, thing I want to say is this is not, in case those of you who don't know, living under a rock or not really been paying attention, stage 4, they're coming in. It's like the last 10K. I was just watching another video, and it looks like Taylor Phinney either gets pushed over, but he pops out of his cleat, and he wildly swings in front of TJ. TJ hits him and does head over heels, does an endo, flips over on his back and crashes. Team gets around him, rallies. Lachlan Morton grabs his bike and gives it to TJ. Unbeknownst to TJ, Lachlan runs the brakes the opposite. Not sure why. This is an Australia thing. Coriolis effect. Who knows what the reason is for this? So he runs his brakes the opposite. There, it doesn't look like TJ's really. It looks weird. He's trying to get up to speed. Finally does. Gets Taylor with him. Lawson Craddock. Everyone but Higuerta comes back. Rigoberto Urán. And then they off ramp from like the freeway onto a more secluded road. And there's a bunch of cars there with them. And as they're veering off to the right, it kind of has a hard right again. And TJ, with these brakes not set the way he uses them, he goes straight. He tries to he use the brakes. Hey, I think I'm using the front, I'm using the rear, or vice versa. Goes straight off the road, almost. And you can see, I watched that one again too, and he's sliding. I mean, he's skidding. There's big skid marks. Kind of fortunate he didn't blow his tire out even. But he goes straight. He gets turned around. Now they were almost to the group, so now they got to go. Now they're getting close to like 5 or 6K. They're humping it again. They're just drilling it, trying to catch up. But the front, first of all, knows TJ's gone, so there's a chance for them to get the yellow jersey. Plus, there's the sprint that's coming up, so they're queuing up for that. And then the road has gone from this freeway style to barely a 2-lane road, and it has a pinch point. And outside of 3 kilometers to go, there's another wreck. TJ comes upon that. They have to sift their way through some of those riders, and they do not connect. He loses 50 some seconds, loses the jersey. Looks like he probably loses it to Asgreen or one of the guys from Dakota Quickstep. And in the end, the jury decides that even though it's outside 3 kilometers to go, they are going to give TJ and all those that were down in that wreck the same time. So I think that's controversial. And this isn't, just so you know, this is not the Tour of California making this decision. This is actually the race jury, the UCI jury, and the main guy that's I think he's either French or Belgium. I think he was Belgium, but speaks French because he was yelling with Wilfred Peters of the Corner Quickstep director. They're going at it, and this is not American TJ's influence to what influence he would have anyway, getting a favorable ruling. Personally, I think it's a bad ruling, but I don't blame TJ for it. I don't blame EF Education. There was another bad ruling like this going back, I think it was 2007, Amgen Tour of California with Levi Leipheimer coming into his home city, Santa Rosa, and the bot dots, and there's a wreck. That one did look like favoritism, and it looked pathetic. This one has a smell of that, and I know probably people around the world are freaking out. And look, as it was, Jonathan Vaughters starts posting out and saying things like, one, there was no protest, and two, this was the best thing for whatever, and he had some reasons for that. Then he changed it and he said, hey, look, Vaughters, that is, he said, because I actually tweeted, I had some conversation. He said, no one lodged a protest. And then he said, we didn't protest to have this instigated. The race jury themselves took it upon themselves to try to correct this. It wasn't us requesting this. And then he said, one way or another, this incident won't be relevant by the end of the race. To which I tweeted out, I said, hey, I'm retweeting this for ease of finding it tomorrow. Ease of recall tomorrow. For whatever. I just wanted to be able to, it's kind of a jab of, is this going to age well? Okay. So this will come in handy because Vaughters then does respond to me here as well as a few others. So today's race, And look, should this have happened? No. There's a 3-kilometer rule. And a lot of people, Fred Dreyer of Velo News wrote a somewhat convincing article about why he thinks this should be upheld the way it was. And his is more along the lines of, for the viewing, the spectator, of, hey, it did actually make today's race a little bit more exciting, kept everybody kind of within grasp, and it just made Baldy a little bit more exciting. But it does change the dynamics of how teams race going into today. Okay. Another one was Phil Guyman said, hey, the 3-kilometer rule is an idea. The jury can make up their minds about some things, and it's a number that's supposed to help protect these riders. And I'm like, did he take this same stance on a hematocrit level at 50? Oh, you're over 50, and now you're a cheat. Were you a cheat before? I don't know. I know I'm pushing this on this, but there's a 3-kilometer rule. Okay, it's 3 kilometers. It's there for a reason. I don't know necessarily what the reason, but the reason is they're trying to protect the riders, as he said, and we're actually trying to. It's a number, okay? So it's specific. Why is that? Make it 3.5, but you're going to have to put the rule at some point. Do you just extend it out and it keeps going further and further? So I think once you've decided it's 3, then you hold it at 3. And those that don't know, you get the same time. Anything wreck, mishap, mechanical that happens at 3 kilometers or inside that to the finish, you get the same time as those that were in that group with you. The other day, was it the Giro, ended up neutralizing like maybe 6 or 7K with the wind and some bad rain. And perhaps that was a good idea. It was kind of an interesting sprint. You only get those that are actually interested for the sprint. So they neutralize it. You get the same time, and then you don't even have to stick with the group. You just sit up and let it go. Okay. Like I said, I think it was a bad decision. You shouldn't impute any of this onto TJ. You shouldn't impute any of it onto EF Education. They weren't the ones responsible for the decision. It's just the decision that it was. But I don't like to see it. It looks like you kind of give a bad name to your home race when your home rider is in the yellow jersey. And, it probably actually did a disservice to TJ because, as we'll talk about from today's stage, his lackluster performance when it really mattered. It was so evident and so quick to happen that if he had lost time and had the 57 seconds going into today, you wouldn't say, oh, he TJ'd himself again. This typical guy doing what he does, blowing it when the chips are down. Okay, so sorry to spoil the day for you, but we had today's race, 6th stage, goes up to Mount Baldy, and it was pretty good. You had an early breakaway. I don't know, 6, 7 riders, a few more, and then coming over the final climb before Mount Baldy, you actually had Shackman. Actually, they went over, and then you had Shackman attacking on a few risers and getting up to the remnants of a breakaway. There were about 3 or 4 left in there. And he gets up to them, and it's dangerous because he's only 27 seconds, I think, behind overall. Now he's up the road, and he's up there about 40 seconds, heading into Baldy, Max Shackman of the Bora Hansgrohe team, and it looked really dangerous. But so much can change on that, last 3-4 miles climb up to Mount Baldy, and it did today. We've seen this over the years. We've seen Peter Sagan a few years ago hold on in a miraculous fashion. Today you saw a few big riders being able to finish that out too, like Asgreen. Now, I have a theory on this, and I only say it because and the only reason I come up with this theory is because Baldy has kind of led to this. But some of these roads that are so steep that sometimes these big, strong riders, they can actually hang with the climbers because it's like doing squat thrusts the whole time. And so some of these big, strong, even though they're big guys, I'm not talking about big sprinters, but Peter Sagan did that a few years ago. Asgreen did it today, and maybe it's just that it's so steep that they're able to kind of kick themselves over and to get up there. They're just strong people, and while strength to weight ratio obviously does help, and you can see that by the top 2 that ended up finishing today. Maybe there's a little bit of a limit so far that they can go. Anyway, you have some back and forth up with the climb. Pretty quickly, TJ just explodes, and he goes out the back, and he goes out quick. I mean, people that are not really fighting for the front are passing him. Rob Britton, I don't know if he's still hurt from the crash. I don't know if he's just being TJ. Maybe there was too much for him, but it did not go well, but his teammate did. And his teammate is Sergio Higuerta, Colombian rider. Don't think he's won much of anything. Pretty sure he's just new on the scene for them. He looked really good, and he started attacking. George Bennett was attacking. Tadej Pogačar of the UAE Emirates team was attacking. He's a young rider. He's been in their young riders jersey. And it was quite the slugfest. Richie Porte was hanging in there. But in the end, the top three that kept coming back were Pogačar, Higuerta, and Bennett, with the top two young kids kind of kicking out. Matter of fact, Higuerta kind of had the lead most of the time up there, and he looked really dominant. It looked like he was going to run away with it, but it's so steep that you just can't run away with it. You've got to, that pace, when you hit that, and it's at altitude, it just kind of takes you down. And going into the final chicanes, 300, 400, 500 meters where there's twisty in the bad road, slowly those two top guys, Pogačar and Higuerta, start to slow down and maybe playing a little cat and mouse. And Bennett comes up to them, second to last corner. He catches them as they kick again. Then you go around a hard left-hand corner. We've seen that years before with Andrew Talansky doing his crit style where he actually gets the win. And no, Pogačar gets inside on Higuerta, who just opens the door wide, doesn't give any chance, and had the lead going into that corner. All you have to do is not corner like a climber, and you've got it won. But no, EF Education loses TJ. They lose Higuerta. And Pogačar takes the win, and he takes the overall, and George Bennett gets third. So on the day, we have the NJM race leader, Pogačar of Team UAE Emirates. The breakaway from cancer, most courageous rider, goes to Mikkel Berg of Hagens Berman. He had been in the break for a lot of the day. Lexus King of the Mountain goes to Davide Ballerini of the Astana Pro team. And Visit California Sprint jersey goes to Casper Asgreen, who did an amazing ride. I think he was 20-some seconds off the win today. And the Best Young Rider jersey, also with the yellow, Tadej Pogačar of the UAE Emirates team. Okay, pretty impressive. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow has stage 7, and it's not going to be a day where we're going to actually probably have much in the way of anything that's going to shake up the GC, unless one of the guys wrecks it, 40K to go, or you have a bad wind. Maybe they had such wind the other day they tried to break it up. But Santa Clarita to Pasadena, 141 kilometers. It's not a long day, and you have take a look at this. You do have some cat climbs here. Cat 2, Cat 3 over the Angeles Forest Highway Summit. And then you have one other one, a Cat 2 coming up here. And it's what averages about 4.5 on the gradient. It's not too bad, but it's 50 some K to the finish. Or 50K into the race. So you've got plenty of time going downhill, got a sprint, and then you're finished in Pasadena. So I don't expect probably a breakaway, but with a breakaway with Daquana Quickstep looking to bring that back, and so Chase at the end, and probably them bringing it back and them getting their fourth win because they've had 3 in a row at the Amgen Tour of California. Okay, what are some of the highlights? I think I may have mentioned some of this before, but Ben King, I noticed day one we were walking around teams and he had black shoes on, not my favorite look, black shoes with white socks, and I just happened to really notice that he was carrying another pair of shoes around, oddly. Before the stage, I saw the stage, actually stage 1 that day, and he was wearing white shoes during the ride, during the race, and it seemed a little odd. So as he's coming to the start to roll out to the road race in Rancho Cordova, I said, "Hey Ben, noticed you're wearing black shoes today. He had black shoes on yesterday, but they were white in the race. What happened?" Said he broke a buckle, just one of those twisties on I think the Prolazumi type of shoes, they're the older Specialized, and broke one of those buckles, and so he had an extra pair of shoes in the car, luckily, and swapped it. And anyway, I was talking to him a little bit about the race. And then we did an interview, and he was a very nice guy. Another one that was good was Emerson Arante. Actually, he was very pleasant, funny guy, looked to us to have a conversation. We enjoyed that. One other thing is we saw Bill Walton, famous Bill Walton, NBA star, between the two KOMs, the first two KOMs out past Placerville on Bucks Bar Road. come up on this guy. He's super tall. He's spinning like crazy in a gear. Has some long socks up to his knees, maybe like compression socks. Drive past him, and he is caked in sunscreen. And I believe Bill Walton in his younger days was quite the ginger, so he was probably protecting himself from the sun. We rode past, waved to him, took a little video of him, and it was good to see him out there. He was really trudging along. And anyway, it's funny to see some of the stars out there, people that are riding the route. And Bill's a big cycling fan, and it's someone that comes from another sport, being a celebrity, and now he's enjoying this one. It's an odd sport that we have, cycling. Another thing to kind of mention is the availability of the fans to be able to get close to a cycling as it is. We had a press pass, but that didn't do much. It got us into the press conference. It got us to go into the press rooms and free lunches. And it also enabled us to go up and talk to these riders without them. I think they were a little less tentative to talk to us. They were a little bit more eased to do so because we had a badge. It just wasn't quite as creepy. But the common, just everyday fan that wants to go out there could just, walk up right to the team bus, talk to them as they're coming off, talk to them as they're going to the start line. They come across the finish, they could talk to them. They can harass them however they want to. During the race, you're out there. It's an amazing sport, and it's a wonderful aspect about the sport. And then kind of a side issue is it also makes it hard to corral those people's and all their money to use that fan experience to actually help the sport along. So you don't have a stadium. They didn't charge for us to go down there and visit with the riders. So if they were to do anything like that, like they would do if it was basketball, football, then you would have a totally different aspect. And that's one way the teams would be able to get their money. Other than that, I see Pogacar. Pogacar was actually one of the people that I had kind of queued up in my early, talking to Chris and Curt. I also saw him in the final going up to South Lake Tahoe. I think he was 6th at Tour of the Basque Country, got the young riders jersey. He's not a nobody, so it was impressive. Okay, so what did Wouters end up saying to me today? So I got a tweet this afternoon after the win, because he didn't mention anything. I didn't even know if he actually saw my tweet yesterday. And then he replies here this afternoon, "How you feeling about this now?" About me saying retweeting for ease of recall tomorrow. To which I just sucked up a little bit, and I said, "I'm thinking you were clairvoyant, but wondering if you thought this is how it would end with TJ going so badly and Huerta so well. Either way, congrats." And there are a few other made some comments here about I don't know what Curt's saying. He's talking about way to clown this clown. I don't know if he's talking to me or Wouters. I think he's talking to Wouters, talking about clowning me, which is probably true. Look, I did retweet that for ease of recall. And my issue, like I said, has never been with EF. They didn't have anything to do with it. There was talk about different ways TJ could have maybe come out a little bit more magnanimous, kind of like Gaviria did the other day when Viviani got DQ'd and he got the win. He acted like he didn't want it at all, even though it looked like it was probably justified. TJ could have done something like that. That's not in his nature. And plus his team's not going to want him to do that. They want that jersey. In the end, it didn't matter. In the end, he blew up today. Moscon blew up before he did. He was another one that benefited greatly. And, in the end, it worked out the way it would have worked out unless TJ never fell at all and we, maybe he was injured or something. Okay, the other big race we have going on right now is the Giro d'Italia. We're about 1 week into there. It started out with Primož Roglič just destroying everybody in the TT. It was actually a TT, not a prologue. And since then, he's had the jersey. And since then, the weather has been horrendous. One of these times, it looks kind of like back, 2012, somewhere in that range when Cadel Evans had the World Championship jersey and he was covered in mud. There were some horrific times, some days. But it's been really bad this whole entire week. Primož actually finally lost the jersey yesterday on or today, yesterday on purpose, I would say. Matter of fact, the cycling podcast had talked to him and intimated about him losing the jersey, and he seemed to be not too concerned. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. And then and lo and behold, they did to Visconti. Valerio Visconti ends up getting the jersey. Another Italian wins the stage on a Pro Conti team, so you finally got some Italian wins. And then today, Visconti was able to hold on to his pink jersey. Well, Pello Bilbao of the Astana team wins just over Tony Galopin and Davide Formulo. So your overall is Valerio Conti. Did I say Visconti? No, not Visconti. Valerio Conti, Jose Rojas, Giovanni Carboni, and down here a ways, you've got your stars: Roglic, Formulo, Galopin, Yates, Nibali. 5 minutes back, but they will end up taking that back, no problem. Matter of fact, we got this weekend. Today was a little bit of climby. Actually, I'm sorry, that's next week. So we're not really getting any climbiness until tomorrow is nothing. It's 240K, but then we got a time trial on Sunday, 34.8 kilometers. And, in case you didn't know, Tom Dumoulin hurt his knee. He's pulled out. Probably a good idea for him. He could focus on the Tour. Then we have, Roglic is probably your best chance at that. There was some comments early on by Yates where he was saying that he's in such good shape that the others, might be, Simon Yates said basically something along the lines of, I'm in such good shape, these guys are going to be shitting their pants. They should be shitting their pants worried about me. Now, I don't know how much tongue-in-cheek that is, but it's set off like torch paper of, lightning over there. All these other riders upset about it. Nibali was like, oh, that's, disrespectful. And, Curt and I were talking the other day, and Chris, about kind of how cyclists don't necessarily maybe understand their own sport of how to push it forward. You've got Sagan, who people like and they think he's flamboyant, but he's not anything. It's not MMA. It's not World Wrestling Federation. Matter of fact, I'm at the press conference a week ago Friday for the Tour of California, and Buhani's there. Now Buhani, he has a reputation for being a bad boy, likes boxing, good-looking guy. He doesn't speak English, so he has an interpreter, but he's literally falling asleep at the table because they're not talking to him. And I'm like, this is, maybe get up and slam a Johnny Depp style in the hotel room, make a scene. I don't know, something that's a little more exciting. And you get Yates up there that's actually kind of, making this the show. I remember the Don King days with, boxing, kind of making the whole weigh-in a big show in the press conference, and they're boring. And it doesn't mean that they need to be outrageous, but what's wrong with Yates saying a little, hey, having a little moxie coming in there? We're getting there, and one of the Pat for, I think, Cycling News, Pat Mollick asked the question to one of the guys, and I think it was Richie Port, something along the lines of, hey, Yates made these boisterous comments, would you like to say anything like that? Well, no. And then, even TJ, and so he's mellow. And then even TJ, hey, who are your rivals? Well, I don't want to mention anybody, because if I don't mention everybody, someone's going to be upset. And it's like, you guys, this is so, it's kind of just milquetoast and boring. And I don't have a problem with what Yates said. You know what? If you don't like it, you go out there and wait, Nibali? Did Nibali say disrespecting? This is the guy that grabbed the mirror and took off on the road, 40 miles an hour, passing other people. And he's worried about Yates saying someone might crap their pants because, I'm in so fit. This is the guy that's making those comments, the Sharka Messina. You're holding on to the mirror of the car. What a tool. Sorry. Hey, get your priorities straight. A little talk is not a big deal. All right. Giro, we'll do more Giro stuff coming up here. I just want to shout out to the USA cycling team. Very impressed with their riding all week, getting in the breaks. Really putting themselves out there. You can see that they suffered a little bit more today. Alex Hohn was really battling to stay in contact. He suffered mightily going over Hamilton and stage 3. And I think that all those days are just kind of built up. And I was just say about the Tour of California, kind of about cycling and boring and stuff. What's the point of that stage down, long stage, 4 down the coast? kind of boring stage. It's really long. Mix it up a little bit. It's only 7 days. Throw some short climbs, shorter stages with some picture. I think the women have been. I would have rather watched some of the 3 days of women racing than that stage. It was a little bit much. And when the commentators are even questioning the boredom of the riders, maybe that's something they should take into account. All right, well that's neither here nor there, but it's here. It's something that needs to be addressed. I think you want to have some excitement. Put in a gravel race or something too, and see what else we can have to a little more enjoyment. Honestly, just let us watch some of the women's racing. They do short races. They do exciting. And I'd rather see a little bit of that than, just try to tune in for the end to see. And, maybe I'm backtracking, but I guess TJ did wreck and cause some controversy. So that was somewhat exciting. All right. We're going to be tuning in some more for the Vuelta. We'll do some more updates here. Maybe we'll talk to Mike Sayers when he gets back from Tour of California, kind of give a recap of how that all went and get his take on the Vuelta. And then as far as the Northern California goes, we've got Masters District Champs coming up next weekend. Let's get the exact date here. What is it? 24th, I believe. It's a Saturday here in Folsom. The 25th. So, go ahead and register for that. Find that at the Sierra Nevada Reliable Racing Folsom Bikes team is putting that on, and they do a good job. That's the typical Folsom crit. So go ahead and register. One other item, I put out a video with Chris and I doing some commentary at the Golden State race series. Then the circuit race, it was about the last 20 minutes. Chris got in the break. I was back in the field. I did some dual cameras, some small screen, split screen. Chris and I talking about it and kind of like, hey, how, what does it take getting in the break? How would the break work? And just different tactics that went involved. It was fun to put together, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Some of the people in the break that you might notable, Jay Newton, Chris Flower, Nate Pearson of the Trainer Road. He came up and was talking to them afterwards. So maybe he'll have a video himself for that race, because it was quite interesting. Anyway, let us know what you think about the 3K to go rule and the whole controversy on that. Give us your take on how TJ did and his blow up. What you think of the riders who did finish out here. Give me your take on the Yates Nibali little controversy over there in Italy, and if you think Roglic is going to hold on. I think Carlton Kirby on Eurosport saying that Roglic, when he won the TT, he's like, is it over? Well, you never know, because things can happen. Dumoulin was a prime example of that. All right. Thanks again for tuning into the Between Two Wheels podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Janke. I appreciate the feedback you've been giving us. Go ahead and share the show, like it, give us some comments, especially on those subscription platforms you have there, and share the show. We're on Facebook at Between Two Wheels, the number 2. Look for us on YouTube as well, and keep the rubber side down. See ya.